Test. Yo, what's good, guys? Alright, I'm not gonna lie. I was supposed to stream earlier, but some things came up. What came up, you might ask? I don't know. I've been trying to figure out what I'm gonna start posting more and more, but I don't know yet. It's been like a hassle. Now, I'll be honest, for the past couple of hours, I've just been playing Roblox until figure out ideas of what to do. But other than that, I don't know what I want to stream. As you can see, I was on Roblox for a while. What is this? Oh, this is a bootleg game. And these actual horror games that I want to play. But the problem is everyone in my house is asleep. I gotta play it during the daytime. So for now, chat, I'm gonna react to just anomalies and stuff. Just why not?
Surveillance cameraman. In
In
2013, a channel called Surveillance Cameraman was created on YouTube. And although the videos have all been taken down now, only accessible through a handful of internet archives, there was once a time when this channel went so viral that it was even featured in the news and in the Seattle Times newspaper. Although the videos are no longer visible on YouTube, pretty much all of the Surveillance Cameraman videos follow the exact same formula. A man with a camera would walk around the streets of Seattle, go up to random people on the street, get in their personal space, and start recording them without their permission, and without even bothering to explain to people why he was recording or what he planned to do with the videos in the future. As you can imagine, a lot of people didn't take kindly to having a camera shoved in their face, but when his targets would confront him and ask him what he was doing, he would usually either stay completely silent, make slight grunting noises, or just say something extremely vague like, "I'm just recording a video." In some of his videos, people would naturally get pretty mad at him, but he never seemed to care and just kept on recording, even when being yelled at, chased away by
Also, if you guys couldn't tell, I'm also very thick. I'm gonna throw that out there.
his targets, getting stuff thrown at him, or having his camera even batted away. Most of the time, however, people would just get self-conscious and awkward when they realized they were being recorded.
That sounds like a jerk. I'm not gonna lie. I don't get why you would do something like this specifically. To be honest, there's a lot of things you could do, but oh my god, dang. But why specifically this? What made you go? Hey, let me just be annoying to other people. I mean, I do it too.
Recorded and would try to walk away from who they probably assumed was either a stalker or just a jerk with no consideration for their privacy and personal space. The channel was extremely weird, and if you take a minute to analyze Surveillance Cameraman's actions, it might seem like there wasn't a real purpose to his videos other than to maybe annoy people to get cheap views on YouTube. However, in
what could he possibly get out of it?
one of his videos, he says something that suggests there was a deeper meaning to the channel. In his first video ever, he walks up to a young couple studying at a college campus, immediately pulls out his camera and starts recording them without their permission. After a few moments of awkward silence where the couple tries to figure out what's going on, the guy asks Surveillance Cameraman why he's recording them when they're just minding their own business, to which the uploader responds with a question.
Can you ask us why you're taking the video?
Just taking a video.
Okay, well, I don't want to be taking a video.
Why are you so worried about it?
I'm not worried, you're just being annoying.
Look at it this way. You ever go to the grocery store? You know, there's surveillance cameras everywhere.
Yeah?
It's not a big deal.
Okay, well...
It's just a video. I mean,
No, you're just being annoying.
After the video was uploaded, a lot of people started to speculate
He has a point. I'm not gonna lie. Because no matter what, there's gonna be a camera on you no matter what, 24/7.
that maybe the entire point of the channel was to raise awareness about how much we've sacrificed our privacy in today's world. How we've silently consented to institutions to record our every move and use the footage for means we're not 100% aware of. Although, this theory was never officially confirmed by Surveillance Cameraman himself. Even if it were true, putting cameras in strangers' face just to make a point is a pretty obnoxious way to make a social commentary. Throughout the rest of all his videos, there's almost no further mention of the channel having a deeper meaning. Shortly after the channel was created,
Let's get the next one. This one's kind of boring. Forgotten languages. Thrift Cobb help me Susie's dying. That one sounds interesting. Stinky Meat Project. That one sounds interesting. Floating Chinese City. Hell yeah.
floating Chinese city.
Wait, that kind of sounds hard. Wait.
In 2015, a video of what appeared to be a floating city in the clouds above the Chinese city of Foshan started circulating everywhere online, and after it was covered in several news stations around the world, all kinds of theories started surfacing regarding the video's origin. The quality of the video itself is pretty bad, but because it was allegedly shot on a cloudy day, it doesn't immediately look fake. Despite the fact that even sources like CNN covered it, nobody really knows who shot the video or where it came from, which is pretty strange regardless of whether it's real or not.
It's definitely fake, because I feel like...
As you can imagine, as soon as some of the more credible news sources began speculating about the video's origin, people started throwing around all kinds of conspiracy theories, with some people claiming that the footage is undeniable evidence of the so-called Blue Beam project. According to the now-deceased Canadian writer and poet Sergei Monast, Project Bluebeam was NASA's effort to broadcast holograms of the second coming of Christ all over the world to implement a totalitarian takeover of Earth by the New World.
Dude, I've actually heard of this, and, like, I'll be honest with you, this one time I brought, so basically the story starts as, like, I took a flight to Egypt, right? And what I did was... I brought this, like, I don't know how to say it. I brought, like, a home there, right? Like some kind of, like, property, as you will. And what they do, for some weird reason, is that, like, when you buy the property, they just tend to just go ahead and give you the property.
World order. Although this is one of the wilder theories regarding the video's origin for sure, some of the other more credible theories that have also gained traction over the years suggest there's a more plausible explanation for the video of the floating city. According to one of the most believable ones, the floating city could have been a real video of something called a fata morgana, which is basically an optical illusion or a mirage caused by light rays being bent by extremely dense air trapped by alternating layers of warm and cold. This phenomenon sometimes causes boats and ships on the ocean to look as if they're floating above the water in the distance, or that there's water in the distance on the road. Still, to say the floating city looks anything like what even the most
looks trippy. I'm not gonna lie.
impressive fata morgana usually looks like is a huge stretch, suggesting the very real possibility that the video was somehow faked. Project Red Sun.
It's all just a little strange.
In 2012, supposed footage of a secret NASA mission to Mars in 1973 started gaining massive traction online. Many people bought into the theory that NASA had launched a covert project codenamed Project Red Sun in the late 60s and early 70s to land human beings on Mars and establish...
But wait, how did they have ships in the 1600s and the 1700s? I thought, like, they started inventing, like, rocket ships, like, during the 1900s. So how do they have ships in the 1600s? That doesn't make any sense.
relationships with aliens without the general public noticing. The footage itself starts with a blue screen warning viewers that the video is not meant for public distribution, after which we see 3 minutes of blurry, wobbly footage of the supposed Mars.
This is a boring video. I gotta find, like, a better video. I need something that's gonna, like, tickle my balls for the rest of the night. The most unnerving creature in fiction. Do I really want to watch that at, like, midnight? I don't even know. Oh, unsolved cases. Disturbing mystery locations. Okay. I'll play this.
You never know true beauty until you see the Earth from space.
Oh.
Or true terror till you hear someone knocking on the space station door from the outside. You look through the porthole and see an astronaut.
Among Us?
But all your crew is inside and accounted for. You use the comm to ask who it is, and he says he's Ramirez returning from a repair mission. But Ramirez is sitting right next to you in the command module, and he's just as confused as you are. When you tell the guy this over the radio, he starts banging on the door louder and harder, begging you to let him in, saying he's the real Ramirez. Meanwhile, the Ramirez inside with you is pleading to keep the airlock shut. It really puts life on Earth into perspective. This is from a satire article from Clickhole, but I remember reading this about 8 to 10 years ago somewhere on a website called Imager. For a time, I think this was one of the more popular short horror stories on Reddit, and for good reason, despite being part of a set.
I've actually heard of this short horror story. It was like the last man in the world, or like the last man on Earth, was chilling in his room, right? And then he hears a knock on his door. It's like a two sentence horror story.
entire article.
That's kinda
The
crazy, I'm
writer
not gonna
has
lie.
done a good job at both building a scenario very quickly and evoking fear in the reader. It can quite a bit about come out of them emotionally traumatized and thinking about what I just witnessed. Horror and comedy are a lot more closely tied than you might initially think, but the essence of horror is not exactly what I would like to cover in this video. Instead,
Why does that black guy look hella familiar?
I want to talk about doppelgangers, why they are so
Ooh.
useful in the horror genre, and how we can use them to our advantage as writers. The first thing to know about doppelgangers is how they started. A doppelganger
Oh, imagine seeing like a doppelganger IRL, bro, or like another like I don't even know, like a clone of you, dude. That's scary, bro. I genuinely think that might be like the most unnerving thing. I'm not gonna lie. They might have actually like thrown this like right on the dot. Because imagine like face to face with like another you, identical features, but like I don't know.
has its origins in German folklore as a ghostly apparition with the appearance of a living person. They are omens of bad luck, and it is here we see just how closely tied to human fear a doppelganger is. Doppelganger characters steal the appearance of someone who already exists. Most of the times, they do this in a supernatural or extraterrestrial way, either morphing into someone else, or stealing their skin, or mimicking a part of another character, such as their voice or their memories. But what I don't think is often talked about is how much humans themselves are doppelgangers. Since the dawn of man, humanity has used various techniques to hunt and survive.
Wait, what just happened?
We work together in packs,
How do you just
use
do that?
tools, and sometimes we mimic the calls of other animals to lure them closer to us. In fact, to my knowledge, human beings are the only other creature on Earth who will not only kill you, but skin you and use your skin as a mask to hunt other creatures of the same or similar types. We are
Yo, when you word it like that, that sounds horrifying.
the wolves in sheep's clothing, and a hunter who is as intelligent as we are is also a hunter we might fear the most. No other animal understands the utility of fur or skins. No other animal hunts in the same way that human beings do. Human beings are capable of imagining things which do not exist and thinking about things not as they are, but as we want them to be, and then making that imagination into reality. We mimic birds not just in their calls, but also in the way that they can fly. We do this for any animal. We want to breathe underwater, we invent oxygen tanks. We want to travel fast, we invent cars. Even something as
Bro, what are these clips?
innocuous as Velcro is a mimicry of an existing plant. So when we think of a doppelganger or a mimic, we tend to think of something that is malicious, but it doesn't always have to be. Of course, when something wants to wear our skin, that means
John Wick?
it is trying to get
What
closer
the
to
heck?
us in some way. The intentions of the doppelganger are
Oh
always
shit, Hunter x Hunter.
unknown, but we are more than familiar
This is when they arrived on Green Island and then they got like volleyballed out the
with
thing,
their
right?
methods, and often we can imagine the gruesome ends for which they use these means. But in addition to being supernatural, doppelgangers can also be a product of our own lived experiences with other human beings. Whether it is someone who tries to mimic your behavior, your clothes, your appearance, or even go as far as to impersonate you, stolen identity is a real thing and something to fear. But fear not, because in the real world, we have today's sponsor, Aura.
What
Now
the-
wait! Before you
Enough.
think I've been body snatched, let me quickly tell you about how much this sponsorship means to me.
Yo, this
it's the
is a
first ever
40-minute
sponsorship on
sponsor.
this channel, and it came to me at the perfect time. In fact, it's the
Boom.
and hear me out, it's important. Anyways, back to the rest of the video. In our own writing, I think it would be good to draw upon this root of human fear. A good doppelganger character is not just a monster who steals another person's skin to kill them. They are a monster which steals another person's skin for reasons we cannot comprehend nor understand. The ambiguity of a doppelganger's intentions is where
This is a scary picture. Like, imagine this
a lot of
IRL,
the
bro.
terror can come from
Oh my
for a
God.
doppelganger character. To use the story at the beginning of the video as an example, let's ask ourselves how much we actually know about the monster in that little blur. We know that it is impersonating an astronaut named Ramirez. We know that it is likely to have come from space. We also know that it can speak our language, so it is intelligent in some degree or another. Beyond that, though, there are also things we know that we do not know, such as which side of the spaceship door the doppelganger resides. We also don't know why this creature is trying to trick the rest of the crew, or if it has already tricked them. In fact, we don't even know if the person telling the story might be a doppelganger themselves. Those are the types of questions which should be left unanswered for as long.
What if, like what if Ramirez, the one that was outside the spaceship door, was in like a mirror dimension, right? And while he was like exploring, like, I guess the world or like the outside of space, he got pulled in, right? So he doesn't realize he's like now in a mirror dimension of the same dimension he was in. So when he goes knocking on the door and then he's like, oh, Ramirez is already in here, he was technically both right. That was actually a Ramirez, and the Ramirez outside is still Ramirez, but he doesn't realize that he's in another world. And it is not even a doppelganger.
As long as your story will allow it, if your objective is to terrify the reader. You see, horror lies not in what we know, but
It's
in
what we don't
do not
know.
And
Yeah.
doppelgangers are an embodiment of that. The Thing is a movie which preys upon our fear of being impersonated and the fear of the unknown. On top of being incredibly disturbing, the movie manages to evoke a sense of wonder and eerie intimacy. The movie ends rather ambiguously, leaving us all to wonder whether or not the creature was actually killed. It's one of the very few horror movies that doesn't have a sequel, and I honestly respect it so much for that. And yes, I understand it has a prequel, I understand there are remakes, I'm talking about sequels, okay? The majority of 1980s horror, such as Friday the 13th, Evil Dead, Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Alien, while classics in their own way, are all movies which ended up spawning numerous forgettable or downright terrible continuations. But despite The Thing being a movie about copying something else, it never spawned its own derivative sequels which allowed it to keep its ending intact, and thereby cementing it, in my mind, as one of the best horror films from the 1980s. And that's a pretty high bar. Most of the classic horror films we see are from the 1980s. I'm going to repeat this lesson as many times as it takes. The appeal of a doppelganger and the horror genre as a whole is not what you can say to the audience, but the questions which you can leave the audience with. Sure, we might know more about The Thing than we do about whatever doppelganger monster is in the space story from earlier, but when we answer one question in horror, it is important that we do one of two things. Either make the answer unnerving, or make the answer something which puts more questions into our viewers' minds and keeps them guessing. Among Us is a game which does not seem at all
Dun-dun-dun. Boom, boom.
related to what I'm talking about. In fact, it seems like I'm talking out of my ass right now, just bringing it up. But hear me out. I know it's been mean to death, but it's a good example. The Thing is that which inspired Among Us, and for good reason. The unique thing about Among Us and why the game is so appealing is that it gives all of us a chance to exercise a very human skill. We get to act and pretend to be something we are not. We get to lead people on and keep them guessing. We also get to interpret that and attempt to solve clues based on the inconsistencies of someone else's behavior. Now, unless you play Among Us like a complete degenerate, with a kill cooldown of 10 seconds, the lights on at the brightest, and as a ghost in a public lobby telling all the other people who killed you, the game of Among Us is a very social and intimate game. It is one of the only games which is going to tell you to get together with your
Let's go. Fuck.
intimate game. It is one of the only games which is going to tell you to get together with your friends and lie to them. As I mentioned before, human beings are some of the greatest mimics and doppelgangers on planet Earth. Figuring out imposters is as much of a skill to us as becoming an imposter is. If you've ever played the game, you likely have memories of times when you managed to fool your friends, or when you manage to uncover the truth and guess correctly. The way I most enjoy playing this game, however, is with the death messages turned off and the lights as dim as possible. I prefer the social deduction aspect of Among Us. The
Me too.
conversations that people have, the accusations, the defense, and the shifting of blame, the misdirection, and the subtle
Is that the boom guy?
lies or inconsistencies in somebody's behavior and words. I like not having all of the information at my fingertips. I like being made to guess whether or not I made the right call voting someone out until the game ends. If you have never played Among Us like that, I highly recommend you do, because I think it is a much better experience than the typical casual lobbies tend to provide. Get some friends together, look up some rules which lean more towards
Somehow that's the hardest part, is getting like actual friends together.
the social deduction aspects of the game and observe how people interact with one another. I think you might find some inspiration in strange places. Speaking of inspiration, I have a few doppelganger monsters of my own which I would like to talk about. In the world of my book, there is a distinction between false monsters and true monsters. False monsters are things which are biologically alive. They will have children, they have territories, they have biological behavior and a drive to survive.
How's that a false
and
monster
reproduce,
though?
and yet they are still considered dangerous or powerful magical creatures. These are things like hydras or griffins or manticores.
So what are real monsters? Oh
True
my god.
monsters of my world, however, are neither born nor do they reproduce through biological means. This category of monsters, referred to as Maliki in my world, often use the broken souls of living creatures as a womb to replicate themselves. They're more akin to viruses than they are actual living creatures. These creatures are often intelligent, but they do not speak our language unless it serves the purpose of luring others to their doom or breaking their spirits. One of the many creatures who use mimicry as a method of hunting in my world are the Maliki called Oscitor. Without spoiling my book too much, the Oscitor are giant creatures who corrupted the light magic created by divine beings to become
Bro, my brain is hurting. There's so
invisible
much
and
happening,
create
bro.
illusions. They are vaguely
Oh my god, okay. I need to take a second from that video, bro. I was getting blown up by just so many things, but I do agree, doppelgangers are very horrifying. Should I watch this one? Alright, let's go. Watch this one now.
Fear is a curious thing, whether it be fear of disappointment, fear of failure, or fear of death.
Hello? What the?
These fears not
Am I-
only scare us, but control and
Why is it not full
define us
screen?
as well. And
There
no
we go.
other fear does it quite like the fear of the unknown. Fairies, serpents, gorgons. These creatures all tap into this fear of what if. What if a
I'm not gonna lie, I want to make a game one
creature
day.
existed that had a lion's head, a goat's body, and a dragon's tail? Or a dreadful sea serpent set to drag even the largest battleships into its gruesome jaws? Or a mother who's come home to realize her children never took the chicken out of the freezer? The horror.
That's actually horrifying.
Nevertheless, these fantastical creatures prey on our very fear of the unknown. And I'd like to personally introduce you to the most terrifying, fear-inducing monsters ever conceived by the human mind.
Me. Vinland Saga? Vinland Saga wasn't that scary, dude.
Imagine you are a farmer living in a fishing village. Your days are simple. You wake up, say hello to your family, and eat breakfast. Then you go out for the day's labor under the harsh seaside sun. As you work the land, you say hello to friends and reminisce on days past or anticipate days to come. These days are long, but company makes them lighter, and the sea breeze is a welcome feeling throughout. Night falls, and the hard day's work is ended. You and your family and friends make the short journey home. On the way back, you decide to cut through a dense forest, because your usual way
Oh no.
has been blocked by a fallen log. You think nothing of it as night begins to darken and your path in the forest gets denser as you keep going. Midnight now, and still no sign of the road home that you should have seen about 4 hours ago. A nearby piece of wood splints. You turn. Nothing. Then, you hear singing? Intrigued, you turn back. What could that possibly... You wake up, say hello to your family and eat breakfast. Then you go out for the day's labor under the harsh seaside sun. As you work the land, you say hello to friends and reminisce on days past or anticipate days to come. These days are long, but company makes them lighter and the sea breeze is a welcome feeling throughout. While you work, you notice something strange in your memory. And no, not strange like that time you walked in on your parents, but a curious...
How does he know?
person-sized hole in your memory where it feels like someone should fit, like someone is missing. But a strange spot appears when you try to concentrate and remember what you did yesterday night. You even struggle to remember their name or what this friend looked like. Night falls and a hard day's work is ended. You and your family and friends make the shirt journey. The path is blocked. Midnight comes. The forest is dark. You turn. Singing? You wake up. Breakfast. Work. Friends. The path is blocked. Song. You wake up. Work. Song. Wake up. Work. Song. Wake up. Work. Song. Wake up. Your family is gone. No one is left in the village but you. You rack your brain trying to figure out what happened, but there's a huge blind spot in your memory where the past week is supposed to be. Something's wrong, but you have no idea what. You know, whatever did this to them is gonna come for you soon. Then, you hear it. A song you've only heard for the first time, but somehow is as familiar as your own name. You know deep in your heart, this is the last thing you'll ever hear.
Oh my god.
That, my friends, is the false Hydra. These monsters attack people, and their friends and family are none the wiser. In gentler lands you will find skeptics. These scholars will stroke their chin and calmly tell you that there is no such thing as a false Hydra. It is some confabulation, villages seized by some infectious insanity, or perhaps some subtle demon. But they are wrong. The song of the Hydra massages their mind, smoothing the wrinkles on their brain. And in this way the Hydra grows, its neck stretches long, and with it, its influence. The next thing I ask of you will be the hardest thing you've ever had to do. Imagine, for a moment, you are in a relationship. Sorry, I'm saying okay. Nevertheless...
All roads lead back to me being single, bro. That's crazy. Can't even escape it on a horror video. But this is fire, I'm not gonna lie.
Relationship, and you and your significant other live in a small mountain village in feudal Japan. Your life is calm, and that's just the way you like it. The air is warm, the food is bountiful, and the regime is at a time of peace. The friends and loved ones that surround you make this calm existence one you're more than happy to partake in. One day, you catch yourself staring at your significant other. They look even better than the day you two met. They radiate that warm, hearth beauty that you want to be immersed in for your entire life. Shopping at the market one occasion, these feelings culminate into a certainty. You realize it in your heart. It's time to propose. The lady at the market asks to buy some of your wife's famous silk, but you're too in love to remember her order. Then you recall your 3-year anniversary is coming up, and remember that every year you make sure to go and pick her a flower from her favorite field 3 days travel by sea. She smiles as she spots you packing one night, getting ready for the journey. You don't have to, she implores, but you know it's about more than just a flower. This annual journey is a sign of your unending devotion not only to her, but to the future you promised her when you moved her to the small town. And this time,
damn, I'm like too single for this, bro.
You have a new plan. You say goodbye and she waves you off as you begin your usual journey down to the coast to catch a boat and begin the 3-day voyage. But this time, you don't. The moment you exit your love's eye line, you head for the trees and unbox the engagement ring you've been handcrafting from an emerald. The long, hidden moments you've spent cleaning the emerald and fastening the bridge have paid off. It's perfect. It started to rain, but you don't even notice. Nothing could dampen the joy you feel. You make your way back to the house, not stopping to notice that many of the village houses seem empty, and there seems to be some strange white substance all over the ground. As you approach your old home, heart beating, getting ready for your lifelong commitment, you hear a scream. It's your wife's voice. She needs you. You see red, grab a nearby woodcutting axe and sprint into the home with a fury like no other. When you enter, you are greeted with a 40-foot large arachnid creature with the head of your dear wife and the grotesque, thick, hairy body of an ancient yokai set on devouring every single life form it's ever come across. Along the house walls are the men, women, and children of the village, all entrapped in tombs of silk. "Home so soon," she says with that smile. That same smile you've seen all your life. The smile you would die for. You then realize you shall indeed. The ring drops to the floor. That, my friends, is the Jorogumo. The Jorogumo is the most well-known of the arachnid yokai and found all over the Japanese archipelago. Written with modern kanji, their name means entangling bride. Shut up before I throw you off this car. That's what you say to your annoying brother as you take in the sights on this stunning safari tour. You finally sit up for your dream tour and his stupid antics aren't going to ruin this for you. The verdant wildlife is everything you ever imagined it to be. Beautiful dense green jungle painted with biological marvels like twisting vines, inhabiting colorful birds and wildlife. It's heaven. You snap at your tour guide to steady the jeep. His driving is far too rocky for all the money paid to be here. And you'll be damned if you let the fact that you picked a local guide get in the way of your time here. The tour guide promises to try his best and the tour continues. While you take in the beautiful dense jungle, you spot a peculiar sight in the near distance. A group of trees that seem cut off from the rest and appear almost white in their leaves. You ask your tour guide about them and he shifts the conversation to how beautiful the sky is. You press him and he meekly informs you how the locals see that area of the jungle as sacred land and that outsiders are not permitted entry. You scoff at that and remind him that you and your brother's tourism is what's putting food on the locals' tables, and if they truly weren't behind in their evolution, they would know that.
Fuck, I would never say that.
You demand that he take you there at once. You paid a lot for this trip and you will get your money's worth. The tour guide, strangely a bit more terrified than usual, tells you that this is not a part of the trip and he does not want to enter that jungle. You demand that he stops the car at this moment. He does, and you push him out of the driver's seat. He falls into the muddy jungle floor. Even while pained from the fall, he warns you that what you're doing is sacrilegious and that the jungle contains spirits of an evil nature. You start the car and drive off without him. Your brother laughs at the pitiful man as you two beeline for the white trees, determined to make the most of this tour. Before you drive off, you spot the tour guide take something out of his pocket. A small bell, perhaps. As you approach these white trees, you notice the amount of wildlife begin to trickle down as you get closer. It's almost as if the white tree jungle is absorbing all the nearby nutrients. It's beautiful. Truly criminal that the tour guide would dare deprive you of such a lustrous experience. This is what you paid for. This is what you deserve to see. You're surrounded by these white trees now. Even the sunlight struggles to pierce them. But you and your brother don't mind. The trees themselves emit an eerie glow that rivals the sunlight in its beauty. As your brother leans out of the car taking selfies, you hear a strange ringing sound. You think nothing of it. You look back at your brother. He's dropped his phone. Strangely enough, he's not picking it back up. Knowing that man would rather die than lose access to Reddit, you walk up to him. But before you get to him, he stands up, perfectly straight, and walks like a soldier right into the deep thrush of the forest. You walk forward, calling his name, but it doesn't matter. You try to pull him, but he's strangely strong, stronger than you've ever imagined he could be. He doesn't hurt you, but he resists you and continues forward through the dense jungle. It's darker now. You follow him. He finally stops and gazes forward. You catch up to see what he's looking at. Nestled in the darkness lies the most beautiful ruby you've ever seen. The red, solid gem would make the perfect souvenir for this tour, and you hug your brother for leading you to it. You reach out to grab the ruby, and the scarlet ruby blinks. Then more rubies appear in the darkness, all around you until the entire white jungle is full of red eyes, all trained on you. They step into the light to reveal their bodies. Ancestral monkey-like goblins that have grass instead of hair and hold in their hands tiny bells. A familiar bell, you think. Then you look up at the one you aimed to grab and it stares back at you. or rather, the tour guide's face stares back at you. Everything goes dark. That, my friends, is the Iloko. These ancestral spirits are thought to be the ghosts of the people who formerly lived in.
Yo, that was amazing. Oh my god, bro. I want to see more videos like this. Hold up. Let me look at this guy's channel. I genuinely couldn't speak because I was like so like in tune to that video. Oh,
Listen close, dear child. For these words could change the world. What I tell you now, I know you will not remember, for it will never let you. But I do this in hopes that centuries, millennia down the line, someone will. They say a foolish sailor treads the storm, and a wise sailor flees before it comes. But what then should you do if the storm has eyes like the moon and fangs like spears, wings like mountains, and it has a mind and it can feel emotions like fear, happiness, anger, sadness, wrath? What would you say to the sailor then? What would you say if the sky was black and fire swept through cities like piss through snow, and death came like the rain and civilizations fell?
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, bro, but like he speaks so like in a way where I want to like listen to him, bruh. Oh, give me 1 sec. I'm going to Hinge break real quick. Time for some Hinge.
Like awesome leaves, kings and queens running alongside common men, for under its gaze all were equal, all were tender. What would you say to the sailor then? Pray. That is what I would say to you. I fled, and for that they called me coward. Pray, dear child, and if God smiles upon you that day, then the path will open and the moon will rise. You wake up from the strangest dream imaginable. What were you up to last night? You think as you prepare for the day. You usually dream of dead people, but this time it was different. You can barely remember it, but it was. And you don't have the words. All you do know is it's time to start drinking more water. But as you leave your home,
I was gonna say
in the corner of your mind, a word pokes through the dream fog. Pray. I'm sorry, Alice. His head rolls off, and you swing your axe back to its rest.
This isn't like this one. I want to hear like about monsters and stuff. Let me go back. Let me see if I find a video that has like talks about like a monster. The darkest fantasy creatures, like this. Like I feel like this would be one. Let me see all these videos. Ooh, of all time, part 2. There we go.
When dealing in the currency of...
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah.
Imagine for a moment you are a painter for a small village. You wake up to sunlight beaming and birds singing, and the village is beautiful. Lavish trees and fresh river, everything you've ever wanted. You've made a living painting memories, and you hope this lasts forever. It's a life of your own making, and you are genuinely content. One day, after meeting with a newlywed couple to discuss their anniversary portrait, you prepare yourself for your daily rest. Logs burn in your furnace as the wolves howl outside, familiar sounds to you, calming even. You reach out for the embrace of sleep after a long day's labor, but strangely, it does not come. After the first hour, you brew yourself some tea and try again. After the third hour, you realize it's not helping. You can't sleep, and so you stand up. You make your way outside and trudge through the dark village until you reach the familiar home of the local alchemist, who seems to be asleep. You let yourself in using his spare key under the lamppost, and you're greeted with a long hall stocked to the brim with unfamiliar potions and concoctions. You call out for the alchemist, but it appears he's not in his usual sleeping spot in the back room. Searching his desk, you find a note. He's away on a trip. Damnation. You search the halls and their labels for something, anything at all to help with this sleep problem. That newlywed couple expects a painting tomorrow, and you will not be your best if you're not well rested. About to give up, you pull your hand away from another book that can't help you, and in doing so, you slap the book off the shelf. As you bend to pick it up, it shines with a mysterious glint. Hidden on the back of the fallen book appears to be a small potion, along with a label that reads, "The Heart's Desire Made Flesh." You ponder it, and so you drink it. It goes down
Big bunch of turns here. I don't know why there's like an alchemy thing and why you drink a random potion, but alright.
surprisingly easy. You head back to your familiar home, dive into your familiar bed, and the lullaby of furnace crackling and wolves howling guides you to an easy sleep. Your heart's desire, after all. You are content. You jolt awake. Or rather, you try, but you cannot move. You are paralyzed. Sleep paralysis. And in front of you lies a horned creature with sharp eyes and a mischievous grin. He's laying on your chest, and he seems quite comfortable there. You freak out, or rather you try to freak out while paralyzed. What's going on? What's happening to me? What is this creature, you think? Your heart starts beating wildly, sweat forms on your head. You must be dead, or dying, or being tortured by some maniacal evil that has descended upon you for some untold sin. The creature cranes its neck. You awaken with a fright. The fireplace is spent, and the birds sing in the distance. No creature in sight. Everything looks normal. You take a deep breath. A bad dream, nothing more. Painting the newlywed couple later in the day, you're restless. It's not your best work and you know it. Something's wrong. You can't portray their joy at all. All the inspiration you found when you first moved here has been corroded by last night's experience. You look away from the posing couple. Take a sip of water. Maybe that will help. The paint splashes to the floor. Jolted, you look around. You ask the posing couple what happened, and they say you fell asleep right there while painting them. Eyes open, standing up. You fell asleep. Jolted, you send the couple away, then you sprint to the alchemist's house. He seems to be back from his trip, and you demand he tell you what it was you drank. You describe it to him, but he swears he's never stocked anything like that, or ever labeled anything heart's desire. This must be a joke, you think. You laugh half-heartedly. All right, now, your fun's over, you say. Hand me the cure and I'll be on my way. The alchemist looks at you plainly. After a moment, you realize he's telling the truth. Stop the charade, you cry. What did I drink? You drop to the floor, knocking over bookshelves as you fall. The alchemist asks if you're alright, but you interrupt him and command him to give you something that will make you sleep like a rock and avoid dreaming at all costs. You run back home. That night, you lay in bed. Strangely, no wolves howl tonight. It's dead quiet. You wake up. You look around. The birds are singing and the trees are swaying. Everything is normal. It worked. You sigh in relief. You head to the alchemist's shop to thank him. You stop at the gate when you see him painting flowers.
Uncle, what are you watching? I don't know, it's like some horror thing, right? And I'm not gonna lie, it's been kind of fire, dude. It's like, I don't even know, it's just some cool
for the
lore.
entryway.
And like, surprisingly, I'm actually like kind of intrigued on how good this is.
You shout your thanks. He turns around. You run as fast as you can, running past villagers and townsfolk, buildings and signposts, and head to the local market where you find most of the people in town. All the bustling activity calms you down. At least here you are. You sprint off for the woods. You are losing your mind. Deeper thresh of the forest now. Civilization long behind you. You reach a mountain region. Keep climbing. Never look back. You find a cave. Enter it. A dead end. Nowhere to go. You collapse to the floor. You're going crazy. This is a dream. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. That scared me, I'm not
You
gonna lie.
wake. You are in your painting room. In front of you lies the newlywed couple you were painting, dead on the floor. Your eyes go wide. You step outside to see the village in ruin, houses burned. Every villager lies bleeding and dead on the floor. Who did this, you think? The demon. You catch a glimpse of a broken mirror, expecting to see your own image. Instead, you see the familiar creature. You look down to see a dagger in your right hand, wet with blood, and a torch in the left hand, burning a flame. That, my friends, is the Alp, the original sleep paralysis demon.
Oh my god.
They are described as eerie nature fairies that cause horrible dreams in an effort to make its host go mad and commit all kinds of base atrocities.
Sorry.
The question is, however, is it the Alp that brings forth these evil acts? Or were they the humans' own desires all along?
Dude, this is so horrifying. Chapter 2.
We're almost there, your lieutenant tells you as the military vehicle drives toward the seaside evacuation center. You look down at your communication device and study your assignment. You've been tasked to evacuate all 3,000 people from Seaside Unit LO-49. You grunt in acknowledgement. You'll complete this task by any means necessary. The rover comes to a stop and you and your lieutenant exit to see the small evacuation center. Huddled in front of the base, a group of older men and women stare out with wide eyes. One of them, an older woman, refugee with tired eyes, walks up to you. "Have you come to save us?" she asks. "Yes," you reassure her. "I've come to rescue everyone here and bring them to the stronghold." You guide them inside and tell the older woman to gather the adults into a meeting room so you can discuss the evacuation. As you and your soldiers walk through the seaside military base, thousands of women, men, and children look up at you from their makeshift beds with hope in their eyes, smiling. You project your voice as you tell them, "Your nightmare is over."
Aww.
They smile and cheer as you and your soldiers walk past. The older woman points you toward a meeting room where the adults of the evacuation center join you to discuss the plans for moving. The evacuation will mean round trips to the stronghold and back, and the first evacuated will be children, the elderly, and the pregnant or otherwise impaired. But you promise that everyone here is safe. No man should be left behind. The meeting concludes and you tell the adults that the evacuation will start at 5 a.m. tomorrow. You promise that you and your soldiers will cover the night's watch, watching both the land and the sea for potential threats. Your lieutenant pulls you aside and says that you shouldn't have promised their safety. "Always say you'll try your best," your lieutenant tells you. "Never say you'll do it for certain." You glance at your lieutenant. "Always and never are cloaks for cowards," you say. "I am neither." On the way to the wall to begin your watch, you run into the old lady refugee from before, and she smiles at you, and she reaches out her hand. Inside of it, a white lily flower. You nod as you accept the flower. Night falls and your watch begins. Standing on the guardrail, looking out on the sea, you reminisce about your early days as a commander, and about how when faced with your first large threat, you ran off and left your fellow soldiers to die while you survived. You think back on that moment with hatred and swear that never again will soldiers die on your account, not while you live and breathe.
Aww.
You clutch your pocket where the lady's lily rests secure. You watch the black waves rise and fall for a long while. A passing figure walks right in front of you. You turn to see the same old lady that gave you the flower walk by you. "What are you doing awake?" you ask. But she ignores you and she keeps walking forward, toward the beach. You watch her from the wall as she descends to the shore. Nothing out of the ordinary. She walks further toward the water. Nothing abnormal. She's reached the water's edge now. Nothing of note. She keeps walking. Whole legs submerged beneath the waves. Nothing out of the ordinary. A moment later, she's fully underwater. You calmly watch as she surely drowns beneath the waves. She disappears from view, swallowed by the ocean. Nothing abnormal. Nothing wrong. Stay vigilant. The next day, preparing to start the evacuation, your lieutenant asks you how the watch went. Nothing notable, you respond. He nods, and you start loading the elderly, impaired, and the young on the first evac vehicle. Bending down to pick up a child and help them on the rover.
You're gonna say that's nothing out of the ordinary, bro. That was definitely like one of the mermaid creatures, weren't it? Like the singing mermaids that like bring you in or whatever. What are they called?
Something drops out of your
I
pocket.
remember playing RL Craft, and that's when it happened.
A white lily. You look at it for a moment. How did this get here? You've never been one to pick up flowers. You look at it for a while, vaguely sensing some attachment to it. But alas, it's probably loose dirt. Nothing to mind. You finish loading up the van, then tap it twice. They're good to go. Standing at watch, you look across the sea at the waves, watching for danger. From the corner of your eye, a group of people approach the shore. It's the old men, children, and otherwise impaired people you've just put on the first evacuation rover. They all approach the sea. Strangely, even the impaired people who just this morning could not walk on their own are walking perfectly in single form line toward the water. Coast is clear, you think. Nothing of note. The first elderly man submerges himself beneath the waves. Drowning. Nothing. The first child submerges. Out. Half of them have gone beneath the waves. The last child submerges into the water. The water is still now. No sign of human life. Ordinary, but stay vigilant for danger. No one will die under your watch. In the meeting room, you discuss the evacuation. But throughout the meeting, you can't take your eyes off the white flower in your hands. Something on the edge of your mind makes you believe it means something. As you look down at the flower, there's a flare up in your mind, a sound, a fragrance. Your head burns with pain, and you drop the flower. Your soldiers look at you strangely, a rare moment of weakness. You tell them you're fine, and you start evacuating the second group. Another successful watch, you think? You thought at least by now that some small creatures would have attacked, drawn by the sound of the evacuation vehicles. But nothing? In all your years, creatures only stay away for one reason, and one reason only. They are scared. Scared of something stronger than them. And if that were true, then that would mean that the place you currently are is the hunting ground for no ordinary beast. But no one's been hunted, you think. It doesn't make sense. You stare at the lily in confusion. Everyone has been accounted for. Every day you take the tally and everyone is present. You can't shake this feeling though, you think to yourself. Call it premonition, guessing, fate. You know in your heart that something is wrong. There's no time to stagger the evacuation. You will instead all march on foot at the same time and leave this place for good. We need to get out of here. I can feel it. They stare at you with confused glances. This isn't up for debate, you say. Tomorrow we leave. Everyone leaves. You then take your place on the wall later that night for your final watch of the coast. The sea is dark, its waves a tempest. And you are the most alert you've ever been. Not even a raindrop could fall without you noticing. Everyone in the evacuation base walks onto the beach. Young, old, women, men, your own soldiers and guards. Every single person in the base walks onto the beach. You look out. Coast is clear. Watch for danger. The people on the shore stop in unison. You feel the weight of responsibility. These people, even your own soldiers, they're all depending on you to lead them to safety. You will lead them, and no one will be left behind. And you will do it now. You walk down the wall and walk onto the beach. Thousands of people, including your own guards, all turn at the same time. You nod and feel your glorious purpose. No one left behind. You step into the water and they follow you. First your leg, then your waist, then your entire body goes into the water. And behind you, the refugees and the soldiers all follow you, and you lead them into the sea, into the waves, into its jaws.
Hey, you. You're finally awake.
That, my friends, is the terror of LO-49. This beast is from a light novel.
Yo,
novel called Shadow Slave. It can use mind manipulation to lure people into its jaws while rendering others incapable of stopping it by blinding them of what is happening. As long as one is in the presence of a mesmerized victim, the others will instantly forget what they had seen. Although I tried my best, I am nowhere near the level of Guilty 3, the Shadow Slave. You finally found it. After years and years of struggle and torment, there it lies, just beyond the horizon. A beautiful, golden tree. You've been looking for this tree longer than anything. Others have tried, sure, but they gave up. Of course they did. You knew they would stop because they have wives and children at home. But shackles like that could never bind you. Not when the thrill of discovery is so beautiful. You take a deep breath. There it is, the heart tree. Tell the child the flame is hot all you like. It takes being burned to know. You think back on your father's words as you walk up the tree. It's night now, and the sounds of the forest calm you as you walk. You spit on the ground at that memory. He was a coward, and when he hears about what you just found, he'll beg you to come back to the family. Your daughter will beg you to come home. The tree is colossal, and its leaves create a shadow that stretches over half the forest. You look down, and the grass is dying. The closer you get to the tree, the weaker the grass becomes. What majesty! You think nature itself bows to the heart tree. You walk closer and closer. You reach the base of the tree, and you look over the forest. If only Father could see you now. He would be so proud. A fruit falls down from the tree, right in front of your feet. You look down and pick it up, examine it. It resembles the fruit from your homeland, but it's perfectly white and ripe to bursting. You look down at it, and you stuff it into your pack. You'll save it for your daughter as a gift. You unpack your biologist tools and set up camp and bask in the beautiful night underneath the heart tree. You wake up to the fruit right in front of you, and there's a bite taken out of it. You raise an eyebrow. You never ate that. You finish the rest of the fruit. No harm in being thorough. At the foot of the tree, you take samples for research. Seed density, root strength, porosity. These findings will make you God on earth back home. You take your time. You didn't get all this way by rushing, and while you work, you think to yourself, this tree is beautiful, is it not? You almost miswrite a calculation with how mesmerized you are. Its leaves and branches. You keep going, still blinded by the tree's beauty, its radiance. Night falls, and your data is collected. You pack up your tools and your camp and sigh. It's time to go home. You strap on your pack and turn away. But wait, why does that feel so wrong? You turn back to the tree. Perhaps one more day of studying it will do you good. After all, you didn't get all this way by rushing. Research the next day goes well, but if you're being honest, you didn't take a single sample. How could you, when the fruit is so beautiful? You stuff your face as you think about it. Think about her, you're sure. She's so stunning. Each leaf, each piece of bark, as if God had carved her before anything else. What a splendid creation. Later that night, you vaguely remember wanting to submit these findings to the world, but her beauty quickly reminds you what's important in life. Her. You eat her fruit in the mornings, watch her, eat her fruit in the afternoon, embrace her, eat her fruit in the night, adorn her, compliment her, eat, regard her, eat, praise, honor, exalt, glory, love. She's all that is, all that ever has been. She completes you like nothing else before, and nothing after. There is no after her. She is a circle, and at her side is where you belong, where you've always belonged. Who are you? Who were you? Who will you be? Hers. Men and women find her and try to take her from you, but she gives you strength and the courage to make her yours. and yours alone. Your heart beats with her power. You make quick work of them. Some of them start to write in the grass as they die. Letters. B. You end her. U. You consume him. R. You descend upon him with the fury. You look the same and sound the same, for she has sustained you. As you regard her beauty this day, you hear a rustle in the bush, and you turn, angry to have to look away from her. And you see a woman, old and gray. She looks at you and smiles. I finally found you, she says. You regard the strange creature. You can't even understand what it said. The human language fled long ago, but still, it speaks. Father, it says, I've missed you so. She drops to the ground, and you turn back to your lover and apologize for looking away. Then you hear sound, and you turn back and see that this strange creature who interrupted you is squirming on the ground, writing something into the grass with her hand. You walk up and look down. N. You look at the other letters and realize what they've been spelling. Burn. The creature squirms beneath your feet, and you finish the job. Later that night, you think about the strange thing that spoke to you earlier. What sort of moment was that, you think? How dare that creature interrupt you? A memory flashes at the corner of your mind, but it's suppressed by some strange power. Oh, you realize, not strange at all. It's her. She's protecting you. You look up at her and smile, and you sleep happily.
Oh my god.
The forest around you is burnt ash, but she is as stunning as ever, thanks to your vigilance. You walk among the millions of corpses that lie around her. They all tried to take her from you. You are all that she needs. Your head twists up as you hear bushes rustle. An old man. You regard him curiously. In his eyes is not the flame of discovery and thievery that the others had. It is pity. He looks to you, and then the tree, and then the ground, and the letters that are still drawn on the barren grass. Burn. He looks back to you, and sadness appears on his face. He reaches into his pack and brings out an arrow. He notches it toward you, and the blue fire appears on the arrow's edge. Your eyes go wide as the arrow flies through the air and lodges into her trunk. You snarl, angry, and lunge at him. But wait, she's burning. She needs you. A tear drops from the old man's eyes as you turn away from him and run back to her. You hug her bark, embracing her as much as you can, even when she gets warmer, then hot, then scolding. As the fire consumes her, you smile. The ancient flame starts to burn everything about her, from leaves to fruit to bark. She's fading, but you hold on. She needs you, now more than ever, and as always, you're here for her. Your skin peels off in the heat, and your eyes sear black. In the back of your vision, you see the old man watching you, crying. Why cry, you wonder, toward a love so infinite? We transcend this plane. You look up as your body starts to melt into the Creator's flames. And finally, after all these years, she smiles back. You're sure of it. The flame is hot. Like this video and comment if
Dude, that was so good, but what was the creature? Oh my
you
god.
enjoyed the story. Also, I started a Patreon recently, so if you'd like to read my scripts or support me in any way, that would be very much appreciated. Also, join the Discord. We have fun there.
What the fuck, dude? That was kind of crazy. Also an hour in, so I'm gonna end the live stream. Oh my god, I'm gonna keep watching a couple of these more.